My name's Lucy Skillman. This is my video assessment for the Learning and Development unit that you've been kindly teaching. I really am looking forward to doing the assessment in this format rather than another written assessment. So thanks for organising this way, and thanks for inspiring. I might get my students to do some in this format during the term as well. So a little bit about the lesson and context of the school firstly, and then I'll talk about some of the learning and development theories that I used in that particular lesson, and also then reflect on those in relation to the students' learning, but also in relation to my own learning as a teacher. So I teach at Chiara College, which has the lowest ICSEA in the Perth metro area. We also have a high proportion of Aboriginal students. The science department itself streams for ability, which I don't agree with, but I'm kind of stuck in that context, so I have to work within the framework that's already there at the moment at least. They also have a deficit perspective, which means that they give the lowest performing classes to the newest teachers, so I had a nice range of low performing classes across the board this year, although that has begun to change this term. So the lesson that I picked was actually a revision lesson. It was also an unusual lesson because we had visitors. So the visitors that were coming were Melody Potts, who was the Teach for Australia CEO, also my usual mentor teachers in the school, along with Trudy, who's the state manager for WA. So they came because Melody wanted to visit our school because she met my mentor teacher at a conference and was really, impressed with her and wanted to come and see us at the same time. So there's quite a lot of pressure on giving a good class because of the audience. I also knew that they were going to come in about halfway through the class. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea about that year 8 class that I'm teaching, their biggest difficulty is engagement, and there's a big problem with truancy at the school in general, which isn't really addressed at the high levels, I would say, very well. So this means that in the classroom you often get students drifting out halfway through, particularly if they don't feel very engaged in the classes. So this is an ongoing challenge, and I was worried that they were going to come and there would only be about 4 students in the class. So using all of my skills and knowledge that I've practiced over the preceding terms, I very carefully designed the lesson so that I knew that when they came to visit they would be involved in a very engaging activity, and also that they would at least still be there. I'm going to talk a bit about the learning and development theories and how they're demonstrated in the lesson that I gave. So the main thing that I focused on is my own teacher persona, and this is kind of underpinned by the democratic discipline theory of Dreiker, and also another book which is Teaching with Love and Logic, which was introduced to us by Mike Whittle. I also have a strong affiliation with the growth mindset. So given that I've been given some of the lowest performing classes, I think it's really important to not dwell on what you can't do, but what you can, and also how much you've learnt, and also how important it is to make mistakes and get things wrong to be able to learn. So the quiz section has helped them to practice and refine their skills without it being a disaster. The classes that I give do follow a constructivist approach, so they build on existing knowledge. So I have a strong links throughout my instruction, which is usually explicit direct instruction for many of the classes. um, of how you put your new information into your existing knowledge. So using really relevant examples to the students' lives and their own personal experiences of life. Even though many of the students in that class have very low literacy, they're able to contribute really well to the class discussions, and they also are very engaged in discussion kind of formats. So I use those as much as possible. I also use group learning opportunities. So in this session we used iPads, and they were free to work in groups if they wanted to, or they were also able to work independently or get help from their peers if they needed help with a particular naming a particular part of the anatomy. The other strength of using those interactive tools in the class is that they have a strong visual basis. So many of those students are very visual learners. They like looking at pictures, and one memory test I did for them they really loved doing, which was remembering 30 images in a row, and they could all recall which image was the one that I'd showed to them in 30 seconds, and they were really impressed with their capacity to remember images. So another example of differentiation within that class was the Do Now activity. So it's a flower diagram, so you had to label the parts of the flower, but there's various bits of scaffolding that I would give depending on the level of the students. They often can self-select, so they may have the diagram with no word bank at all, or they may have a diagram with a word bank, or they may have the word bank plus the starting letter of the correct parts of the flower's anatomy. For the low literacy components, the quizzes are read out and the answers are read out. So the only thing that the student has to do is pick A, B, C or D. They're also free to work collaboratively in groups, so they're safe, and there is a strong desire to do well and win by getting the most right answers. So part of the strength of the Teach for Australia program, I think, is in constructivism. That as you're learning the theories, you can practice and build on your knowledge in a much richer way through practice rather than just through reading about it or knowledge. I also think that my particular context or school has helped me because there's quite a lot of freedom in how I deliver the content, so I'm not restricted to doing it in one particular way. So the choice theory is there, and also the discipline approaches that I can use. I'm quite free to apply discipline methods that I think are appropriate for the students, which fit better with my own personality and approach to life. So just to finish, I suppose my reflections on or self-assessment of my own learning and development as a teacher, I wanted to use this example because I thought it was a really powerful opportunity for myself to reflect on how far I've come over the last 9 months of work, that the visit by so many important people to my class might have been really overwhelming at the start, but I felt much more able to set the tone for the class and be more confident that irrespective of what happened in the particular class and with each student within the class, that I had enough control over the learning activities to demonstrate a successful class and outcomes for the students, which would hopefully be enjoyable for the visitors as well.